Story 1. I was 6 years old when I disappeared for 2 days. When they found me, I was wearing clothes that didn't fit, shoes that weren't mine, and a birthmark on my ear was gone. My mother looked at me and said, "This is not my son." She was right, but she was also wrong. Because I was standing right there, and I've spent the rest of my life trying to understand who I am. It was summer. I was staying with my grandmother in the countryside. She had a house full of kids, me, my brother, 4 cousins. My uncle and aunt lived there too. Sunday morning, my grandmother and uncle woke up early to feed the animals and get ready for church. At 7 a.m., they came to wake the kids. I wasn't there. My shoes were by the bed, my t-shirt and shorts were gone. Everything else was exactly where I'd left it. They searched the property, called the police, called my parents, who lived 700 kilometers away. They brought dogs. Nothing. No trace, no lead, no sign of me anywhere near the house. I was found in a forest, 11 kilometers from my grandmother's house. A group of hunters stumbled across me. They said I wasn't crying, wasn't scared, wasn't even dirty. I was holding a book, and my clothes were too small for me. So small they had to cut the shirt off my body. When they looked at my feet, they saw something strange. I was wearing shoes, but my original shoes were still at my grandmother's house. I had walked 11 kilometers through the forest, but my feet weren't cut up. My clothes weren't torn. I wasn't hungry. I wasn't thirsty. I was calm, like nothing had happened. Years later, my nephew became a police officer. He found the old files from my case and sent them to me. There were hours of audio tapes, 7 hours of questioning across multiple interviews. I was 6 years old. But what I told them, no 6-year-old should be able to describe. I told them I came from the school, but I was too young for school. I hadn't even started kindergarten. I told them they taught me to be me. They taught me who I am, I said, how I am. I told them I slept in a room with many kids, boys and girls. We ate vegetables. I told them when I looked out the windows, I saw only water, like being underwater. But there were no fish. I told them all the teachers looked the same. We called them all teacher. Every child was given a name. Every child had to learn about their new life, their new family. They showed us pictures on screens, pictures of the families we would join. The book I was holding when they found me, it was filled with photographs. My family, close relatives, family friends, neighbors, even the staff and kids from the daycare I went to. I knew every name in that book, every face, but I couldn't tell them anything personal about any of those people. I knew who they were, but I didn't know them. When I was brought back to my grandmother's house, my mother was already there. She'd driven 700 kilometers the moment she heard I was missing. She looked at me, and she knew something was wrong. I had a birthmark on my left ear, 2 small grapes hanging. She'd refused to have it removed when I was born. She made a big deal about it. It was my mark, my proof. It was gone. She went to the police with pictures, told them this wasn't her son, told them to keep searching. They didn't take her seriously, but they filed her report. My grandmother had 3 dogs. They'd known me since I was a baby. They didn't recognize me anymore. They barked, growled. My uncle had to cage them. My parents took me home after 3 weeks, but my mother was never the same. 2 years later, my youngest brother was born. He had the same birthmark I used to have, 2 small grapes on his left ear. One day when I was playing with him, my mother said something I never forgot. "My first son used to have that, 2 small grapes on his ear." She looked at me when she said it, like I wasn't standing right there. She took care of me, but she was cold. She never came to my graduations, even when I was first in my class. When I left for college, she threw away everything I owned. My room has been empty ever since. There are no pictures of me in the house, only pictures of me from before the disappearance. She used to ask me questions, strange questions. "Who are you? Where is my son? Is he okay? I never knew how to answer. I don't know if this affected me. Honestly, I wasn't bothered by it. I always felt like an intruder anyway. I never needed a home, never needed friends. When I finished college, I joined the military, became a pilot, served for 15 years. Then I quit. The best moments of my life are when I'm flying, or out on the water alone. Quiet, no one around. My social skills come alive only when I drink. But I'm not much of a drinker. I'm not special. I haven't changed the world. I live a normal life. But I've always had this feeling. I don't belong anywhere. So here's what I keep coming back to. Why? Why would someone replace a 6-year-old boy? What was the point? Maybe I wasn't the special one. Maybe the real me, the one with the birthmark, the one my mother recognized. Maybe he's out there somewhere, doing big things, living a different life. And I'm just a replacement piece, a puzzle piece that didn't even need to exist. The puzzle worked fine without me. Over the years, I've tried to investigate. After my nephew sent me the police files, I asked questions, searched for records, tried to understand what happened during those 2 days. But this happened during the communist period. Records weren't always reliable. The police worked differently back then. Some things were never written down. I don't have answers. Maybe I never will. But sometimes, late at night, I look in the mirror and I don't see a 6-year-old boy who got lost. I see someone who was given a life that wasn't his. And I wonder, who was I before they taught me to be me?
Story 2. I don't sleep in my car anymore, ever. No matter how tired I am, no matter how long the drive. I'll drink 6 cups of coffee. I'll pull into a well-lit truck stop. I'll do literally anything except what I did 2 years ago. Because 2 years ago, I made the mistake of pulling over on a dark road. And something found me. It was late, probably too late to be driving. I'd been at a family reunion a couple hours away, and I couldn't stay the night because I had work the next day. Stupid, I know. But I was young. I thought I could handle it. The drive was mostly through back roads, dense bushes on both sides, trees so thick you couldn't see past them. The kind of roads you see in horror movies right before something bad happens. I'd been driving about 45 minutes when it hit me. The tiredness. Not the normal kind. Not the I stayed up too late kind. This was sudden. Overwhelming. Like someone flipped a switch. 1 minute I was fine. The next, I could barely keep my eyes open. I tried to find somewhere to pull over. A gas station, a rest stop, a parking lot. Anything. Nothing. Just dark road, just trees. My eyes kept closing. My head kept nodding. I knew I wasn't going to make it. So I did something stupid. I found a spot where the shoulder widened just enough. Grass, a few bushes. I pulled off the road, killed my lights, and tucked my car behind the bushes as best I could. I didn't want anyone seeing me. Didn't want anyone stopping to check on me, or, worse, trying anything. I checked the clock. 11:22 p.m. I leaned my seat back, closed my eyes, and let the darkness take me. I don't know how long I was out. It felt like seconds. But when I opened my eyes, the clock read 11:50. Something woke me up. A scratching sound. Metal on metal. Slow. Deliberate. I sat there, frozen, listening. My brain was still half asleep, trying to make sense of what I was hearing. Then it stopped. I waited, listened. Nothing. My tiredness was still there, pulling me back down. I told myself it was an animal, a raccoon, a stray dog, something checking out the car. I closed my eyes and went back to sleep. The next time I woke up, it was 12:40 a.m. The scratching was back. But this time, it didn't stop. It was louder, more aggressive, like something was dragging metal across metal over and over. My heart was pounding. I was fully awake now. My mind was racing. Animals don't scratch the same spot for minutes. Animals don't come back an hour later to do it again. I looked in my rearview mirror. For a split second, I caught something. A shape, moving fast, disappearing into the trees. I couldn't tell what it was. Too dark, too fast. But it wasn't a raccoon. I sat there, gripping the steering wheel, trying to decide what to do. The thought crossed my mind that it could be someone playing a prank, or someone trying to rob me. But then I remembered an old urban legend, the one about the couple parked on a deserted road, the hook scratching the car, the killer waiting for them to get out. Fuck that. I wasn't getting out of my car. I turned the key. The engine roared to life. I slammed it into drive and hit the gas. The road was empty, dark. I was flying now, faster than I should have been. My hands were shaking on the wheel. About 100 yards ahead, there was a bend. I took it fast, tires squealing. And then I saw it. A car, parked on the side of the road. Driver's side door wide open. I slowed down, not to stop, just to look, to see if anyone was inside. Empty. No driver, no passenger, just an open door and an empty car, sitting there in the dark. I looked in my rearview mirror, and that's when I saw him. A man, sprinting around the bend, full speed, coming right at me. He was screaming. I could hear him even with my windows up. His voice cut through the night. "Hey! Hey, you! Stop!" I didn't stop. "Get the fuck out of your car! Now!" I slammed my foot on the gas. In my rearview mirror, I watched him get smaller and smaller until he disappeared into the darkness. I didn't look back again. I drove for another hour. Didn't stop. Didn't slow down. I called my brother when I got to a gas station, told him what happened. He laughed, said I probably just scared myself, said it was probably a drunk guy whose car broke down. Maybe, but drunk guys don't hide in the woods and scratch your car. Drunk guys don't wait almost an hour to come back. Drunk guys don't scream at you to get out of your car in the middle of nowhere. I checked my car the next morning, in the daylight. There were scratches along the driver's side door. Long ones, deep ones, like someone had dragged something sharp across the metal. I never reported it. What would I say? Someone scratched my car and I ran away? They'd laugh. But I never forgot the way he looked in my rearview mirror, the way he sprinted out of the darkness, the way his voice cut through the night. He wasn't asking for help. He was hunting. I don't know who he was. I don't know what he wanted. Maybe he was just a guy with a broken-down car who saw my lights and thought I could help. But I don't think so. Because if he needed help, why was he hiding in the trees? Why was he scratching my car? Why did he wait almost an hour before he came back? And why did he scream at me to get out? I think about it sometimes. Late at night, when I'm driving home from somewhere, when the roads are dark and the trees are thick on both sides, when the tiredness starts to creep in, I don't pull over anymore. I don't care how tired I am. I'll drive to a gas station. I'll find a well-lit parking lot. I'll drink coffee until my hands shake. But I will never, ever pull over on a deserted road again. Because you never know what's out there. And you never know what's watching you sleep. And once you hear that scratch on your car in the middle of nowhere, you'll never forget it.
Story 3. I knew something was wrong before anyone said a word. It was breakfast, a Tuesday, nothing special, but my children were silent, no fighting, no screaming, no forks flying across the table. For the first time in years, I didn't have to yell once, and that terrified me because quiet children are either sick or guilty, or something much, much worse. I sat at the head of the table with my iPad, pretending to read the news. But I wasn't reading, I was watching. Jonas, my eldest, was pushing eggs around his plate like he was performing surgery. He hadn't taken a single bite. Zach, my middle, was staring at his cereal bowl like it might explode. His hands were in his lap. He wasn't moving. And Callie, my baby girl, she was hiding behind her hair, thick brown strands hanging in her face, shoulders hunched, making herself small. No one was talking. No one was looking at anyone. This wasn't my house. This wasn't my family. Jonas. I set my iPad down. Across the table, Zach flinched. Actually flinched. Like I'd struck him. Callie ducked her head lower. And Jonas, my 16-year-old, the one who started every fight, who never backed down from anything, he couldn't even look at me. What's going on? Silence. Zach shot Jonas a look, a warning. I saw it, and I saw Jonas ignore it. I'm not staying silent anymore, he whispered. You two can, but I'm not. His voice cracked. I fucking can't do this anymore. And then he broke. Not the kind of crying you do when you're sad. The kind of crying you do when something has been killing you from the inside for years, and you finally can't hold it anymore. I stood up so fast my chair almost tipped over. I went to him, to wrap my arms around my son. The second I touched him, he flinched away like I'd burned him. Get away from me! He scrambled back, eyes wild, feral, like a trapped animal. I reached for him again. He shoved me, hard, and then I grabbed him, pulled him into my arms, held him while he fought me, screamed at me, sobbed into my shoulder. I stayed calm. I stayed still. I let him break. But inside, I was already screaming. When he finally pulled away, I made myself smile. Show me, I said. He nodded, and then he led me upstairs. Zach tried to stop him, grabbed his arm, whispered something I couldn't hear, but Jonas shook him off. I followed my son into the room he shared with Zach. It was neat, too neat, like someone had cleaned it recently. Jonas walked to his bed, lifted his pillow, and there, looped around the bed frame, were chains. Not the kind you buy at a hardware store for a project, the kind you use to keep someone in place, the kind with locks. When you go to bed, Jonas said, his voice flat, Dad comes in. Make sure we're restrained. I couldn't breathe. Ever since we tried to run, he whispered, he chains us to our beds. Tried to run. I opened my mouth to ask why. Why would my children try to run from their own home, from their own father? But Jonas was already moving, already leading me back downstairs. There's something I need to tell you, he said, but you can't freak out. You can't call Dad. Just listen. I nodded, because I couldn't speak. He led me into the backyard. The sun was too bright. The grass was too green. Everything was normal. Nothing was normal. 5 years ago, Jonas said, a man approached me on the street in L.A. I was 15, trying to be an actor, trying to be anyone. He wasn't looking at me anymore. He said I would be paid $500 a week for one simple job. He stopped, turned to face me. All I had to do was pretend to be your son. The world tilted. Zach was a runaway from Phoenix. Callie was a foster kid from San Diego. He found us, paid us, dressed us, taught us your children's names, their birthdays, their favorite foods. He laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. He showed us pictures of real Jonas, real Zach, real Callie, so we could study their faces, their smiles, the way they stood. He was crying now, silent tears running down his face. But then he stopped paying us. We tried to leave. We tried to call the cops. He punched Zach in the face so hard he lost a tooth, started drugging our drinks at night, chaining us up when you weren't home. He grabbed my hands, squeezed so hard it hurt. We're prisoners, Mrs. McCarthy. We've been prisoners for 5 years. Mrs. McCarthy. Not Mom. Not Mother. Mrs. McCarthy. I'm not even from here, he whispered. I'm from Texas. I ran away to LA because I thought I wanted to be an actor, but I'm done playing a dead kid. He let go of me, stepped back. We just want to go home. Behind me, a voice. I'm sorry for your loss. Zach was standing on the patio. Callie was beside him, holding his hand like it was the only thing keeping her standing. But we're not your children. He looked at Jonas, nodded once. Get your shit, Jack. We're going. Jonas nodded. He turned to me, wrapped his arms around my neck, a quick hug, a goodbye. Thank you for saving us, he said. And I'm sorry for your loss. He let go. They started walking toward the fence, and I reached into my pocket. My hand closed around cold metal. I'd been carrying it for 5 years, ever since the day I buried my children, ever since the day my husband brought home 3 strangers and told me they were mine. I knew. Of course I knew. A mother knows her own children. A mother knows the sound of their laugh, the curve of their smile, the way they say her name. But my children were dead. They were dead, and I was drowning, and my husband brought me 3 replacements and told me to hold them like they were real. So I did. I held them. I fed them. I loved them. And somewhere along the way, I stopped pretending. Somewhere along the way, they became mine. I couldn't let them go. The gun was in my hand before I knew what I was doing. I raised it, pressed the barrel against Callie's head. The 3 of them froze. Stupid kids, I whispered. I was laughing. I couldn't stop. The sound was coming out of me like something alive. Your father ran the auditions. I clicked off the safety, lowered the barrel to Callie's calf. Run, and I'll cut off your legs. They didn't move. They couldn't move, and I took pleasure in what I said next. But who do you think chose you? I watched their faces, watched the understanding dawn, the horror. Yes, I knew, I always knew, and I chose them. Out of all the broken children in all the broken cities, I chose them because they looked like mine, because they sounded like mine, because I needed them to be mine. They are not my children, but they will never leave.
Story 4. I live in an old New England town, the kind with colonial houses, winding roads, and stories that have been whispered for 300 years. The oldest story is about Zuriel the witch. We learn about her on school grounds. The older kids teach the younger ones, voices low, eyes glimmering. She will knock on your door in the form of a traveler asking for a glass of water. You will know it's her because despite claiming she is terribly thirsty, she will not touch the water you offer her. There are 5 rules. You must let her in. You must be friendly at all times. You must not show that you are afraid of her. You must not let her out of your sight. You must not let her pass the first room of your house. When someone dies in a domestic accident, whispers circulate that they received a visit from Zuriel and didn't follow the rules. Some claim to have met her and survived. But because she changes appearance every time, accounts are impossible to verify. Most grown-ups would deny believing in Zuriel. But when you enter a house in our town, you'll usually find a glass and a bottle of water kept by the front door, just in case a stranger stops by. I was a skeptic, or rather I used to be. Sure, Zuriel scared me as a child. When I heard someone knocking at my parents' door, I would run to my room and lock myself in. Zuriel never came. As I got older, I did my research. It turns out a woman named Zuriel really lived in our town. According to historical records, she was a spinster of most ill-favored countenance, who lived alone at the edge of the woods. Long suspected of being troubled by an unclean spirit, she was much disliked by the townsfolk. They complained that she continually intruded upon their property. In 1734, after Zuriel had not been seen for weeks, a pious old woman went to check on her. She found Zuriel's decomposing body lying in her shed. Her throat was cut almost to the bone. Although some young men had been heard declaring they would rid the town of the foul witch, they were never prosecuted. The haunting nonsense was just a sad page of history, I concluded. Just a woman who was hated, murdered, and turned into a monster by the people who killed her. After I married and moved into a new house with my husband, he insisted on keeping a glass and a bottle of water by the front door. I didn't want to, but it wasn't a matter worth fighting over. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. Last Friday, around 3 p.m., I had just put my son down for a nap when I heard knocking at the door. I opened it to a woman I had never seen before. She was in hiking clothes. Not surprising. The area is known for its nature trails. "Hi, can I help you?" "Hi, I'm so sorry to bother you." She had a stylish bob, a pleasant face. Even with sweat on her forehead, she looked polished. I thought she must have come from a big city. "May I ask you for a glass of water? My bottle is empty, and I am so very thirsty." She smiled at me apologetically. "A hiker asking for a glass of water, that's it. You must let her in." "Of course. Please, come in." "Oh, that's so kind of you. Are you sure I'm not bothering you?" "No bother at all." She walked through the door I held open for her. A split-second thought crossed my mind. Slam the door in her face. I didn't, of course. In the blink of an eye, the hiker was inside my house. She hovered by the entrance politely. I turned toward the kitchen, then remembered the glass and water bottle sitting right next to me. You must not let her out of your sight. Well, why not? As I poured the water, she glided from the entrance to the couch and sat down. I did not like that. She must have noticed because a flicker of guilt tightened her features. "You must be friendly at all times." I responded with a bright smile, handing her the glass. That's when I noticed she had no backpack, no pouch, not even a water bottle. I took a deep breath to push down the panic that had started swelling up. I sat in front of her. "You've been hiking?" I chirped. "I just did the mountain loop," she replied enthusiastically. "It was so pretty." She set the glass on her lap, without drinking any of it. "It's one of my favorites," I responded. Her fingers gripped the glass she didn't drink. "And it's such a nice day today," I continued. "It was lovely, almost too hot." Her face beamed with sweat. A drop rolled from her forehead to her chin. It fell into her lap. She still did not drink. My eyes snapped up to her. She was staring at me, staring at her. "You must be friendly at all times." I laughed a horrendous laugh. "Yeah, I love it when it's hot." She laughed along. Inside me, the adult woman disappeared. I became that little girl who wanted to lock herself in her room again. We talked about the town, about hiking, about nothing. I watched her. She watched me. She didn't drink the water. She told me she had a son my son's age. A daughter too. She was divorced. She was visiting for the first time. She was lying, or maybe she wasn't. I couldn't tell anymore. Every time she moved, I tensed. Every time she looked toward the stairs, my heart stopped. You must not let her pass the first room of your house. The afternoon stretched into hours. The light outside didn't change. It was always bright, always 3 p.m. Time had stopped. And then my son woke up. His cry cut through the house. "Mommy! Mommy!" I almost shot from my seat, but I caught myself. "Don't you want to go to him?" she asked gently. "You must not let her out of your sight." "That's okay. He needs to get used to it." "Mommy!" He was screaming now, terrified. What if he was hurt? What if something was wrong? She sat perfectly still, grinning at me. "Are you sure he's okay?" Her question sounded like a threat. I nodded vigorously. "We're training him to sleep on his own." The screaming continued. I thought about all the people who had died in tragic accidents, the ones who broke their necks falling downstairs, the ones who choked on their food, the ones who drank from bottles of bleach. They were visited by Zuriel, the rumours always said, and they didn't follow the rules. "I've never seen a mother like you," she said. I ignored her. "How about your little one?" I had to raise my voice over my son's cries. "Does he sleep on his own?" She lit up. "He sleeps like an angel. My daughter, on the other hand, is like yours. She wanted to be held all the time." "You have a daughter too?" "Yes, I do," she snapped, as if I was doubting her. My son went silent. That scared me more than his screaming. Why did he stop? "See," I said. He calmed down. "You're a very interesting woman," she responded. She shuffled forward. Her knees almost touched mine. "I'm really enjoying getting to know you." I didn't budge. "Me too. Maybe we could be friends." Her eyebrows shot up, her eyes widened, her lips parted. "I would love that," she breathed. And then her face began to change. Red veins flared beneath her skin. They swelled, morphed into elongated warts. "You must not show that you are afraid of her." "What did you think of the hike?" I spluttered. "It was amazingly lovely," she trilled, as one of her eyes turned grey. "If you love nature, I would recommend the Wildlife Refuge." Her hair vanished, leaving only clumps on a bald head. "And paddleboarding on the river." Her teeth blackened. Strands of yellow saliva stretched between them. "And Aunt Rita's kitchen has the best clam chowder." One side of her face went mouldy. A worm wriggled out of her ear and slid into her eye socket. I smiled harder. "And the museum has great artifacts." A slit appeared on her throat, from side to side. Dark blood poured out, covering her clothes, my couch, my carpet. Her head fell back. The wound spread open like two halves of a steak, exposing her sliced windpipe. Only a thin layer of skin kept her head from rolling away. Yet her one eye was still fixed on me. My smile did not falter. "And the Arts Centre has dance shows." The lights flickered. "My personal favourites." All the lights went out. The thought of being alone in the dark with her was so terrifying my heart nearly stopped. "You must not show that you are afraid of her." I thought about my son, the sun rising on the ocean, a kitten drinking from a bowl of milk. "There's a little bar by the river." The lights came back on. She looked like a preppy 40-year-old hiker again. No wound, no blood. Outside, the day was bright again. I allowed myself a breath of relief. Maybe this was it. I passed the test. She would be gone now. "Thank you for that," she said softly. "Since there's so much to do around here, maybe I should stay a few more days." My throat tightened. What a great idea. "Do you have a guest room?" "I would love to stay if you'll have me." Despair hooked its fingers into my insides. "We don't have a guest room. I would have loved to have you stay." "That's a shame. What if I slept on the couch?" "I wouldn't want you to be uncomfortable." "I don't need much. This looks perfectly comfortable." "My son is rambunctious." "So? Didn't I tell you I'm a mom too?" "Yes." "You don't believe me?" "Of course." I was losing ground. My energy was leaving me. "It almost sounds like you're making excuses," she said. "Didn't you say you wanted to be friends?" "Yes." "Mommy." I hadn't heard him come in. My son was standing in the doorframe. He clutched his teddy bear. His chubby cheeks were streaked with dried tears. She looked just as startled as I was. "He must have climbed out of his bed," I said. I held out my arms. "Honey, come here." Instead, he walked toward her. "You must not show that you are afraid of her." "Hello, little man," she exclaimed, baring her teeth. I was trembling now from head to toe. She stretched out her hand, wiggled her long-nailed fingers. My son wobbled closer. I wanted to scream, to yank him away, to run. But I didn't know what the right thing to do was, so I sat still, paralyzed. "Would you like me to stay here with you?" she said in a baby voice. "No, say no!" My son gave her a toothless smile, that smile of pure delight only little children are capable of. She widened her grin, pushed her hand toward him. The room around me started shaking. My son put his teddy bear in her outstretched hand, a friendship offering, Time stopped. Her mouth trembled. Her smile morphed into a sorrowful grimace. She gripped the teddy bear, brought it to her heart. Finally, she let out a long, painful breath. "I am sure your child wants his mommy to himself," she murmured. "I'll be on my way." She rose, set the teddy bear on the couch. "It was great to have. Thank you for your kindness." She lightly stroked my hand with her fingers, and then, just as swiftly as she came, she was gone. It's been 7 days since she visited. I've been watching my husband and son like a hawk, expecting them to trip, fall, get burned. Something terrible. No one got hurt. Life is beginning to feel normal again. But around 3 p.m. every afternoon, I feel a pang of pain on my hand, right where she touched me. I look at the glass and bottle of water by the front door. I don't move them. I don't know if she'll come back. I don't know if I passed the test or if the test is still ongoing. But I know one thing. The story I learned as a child, the murdered woman, the sad history, the myth. I was wrong about all of it. She's real, and she's still here. And the rules? They're not rules, they're a warning. She doesn't want to hurt you. She wants you to prove you're worth not hurting. My son gave her his teddy bear. He didn't know the rules. He just knew that a stranger needed something, and he had something to give. Maybe that's the real test. Not fear, not bravery, and kindness.
Story 5. My girlfriend and I get tortured for a living. That sentence used to sound like a punchline, a joke we told at parties to watch people's faces twist up. Now it's just my reality. And the worst part? The torture isn't what's destroying us. It's whatever they put in her head that won't come out. I've always had a thing for odd jobs. When I was a teenager, Craigslist was my playground. You wouldn't believe the stuff people will pay you to do, especially when they don't want a paper trail. Most of the time, it was harmless. Weird, but harmless. That's how I met Chelsea. She showed up to the same gig I did, some kid's 11th birthday party. Neither of us knew what we were signing up for. We just knew the pay was good. When we got there, a middle-aged guy named Frank pulled us aside. He smelled like marinara sauce and bad decisions. He told us we were supposed to get in a huge screaming match in the middle of the party. We were playing a couple from down the street who were really on the fritz. That was it. No context, no explanation. Just scream at each other, make a scene, collect your cash. I hesitated. I'm not much of an actor. Chelsea? She dove in like she was born for it. A couple hours later, we were sitting on a curb a block away. She was holding a bag of frozen carrots against my swollen cheek. Some guy's dad had tried to break us up, and I was nursing a blunt, wincing at how my chocolate milk-soaked shirt was sticking to my skin. We traded stories about our strangest jobs, the time she had to pretend to be someone's girlfriend at a family funeral, the time I had to stand in a cornfield for 6 hours holding a sign about aliens. We both agreed anything below a felony was fair game. But she wasn't in it for the money. She was in it for the rush. I fell in love with her fast, like getting hit over the head with something heavy. Aggressive. Immediate. A couple months later, we got a place together. Domestic life suited us. She made me coffee in the morning and kissed my forehead when I stumbled into the kitchen. We took turns cooking. We watched hours of garbage reality TV on a couch that was barely big enough for two. We talked about the future, a dog, 2 kids, a yard. My mom got obsessed with grandkids. I had to beg her to stop asking Chelsea about her cycle. But none of them knew about our secret life, the jobs we did when everyone went home. It was ours, something exciting that we shared. The first call from OEM came on a quiet Friday. Chelsea was at work. I was at home cleaning the stove like a pensioner. I was used to calls with no caller ID, so I didn't blink when no caller ID popped up on my screen. What was different was the automated message. This call may be recorded for quality assurance and training purposes. Please state your first and last name and your date of birth. I frowned, tossed my rag on the counter. Julian Rains, May 14th, 1999. A pause, a beep, then a real voice. Hello, Mr. Rains. I've been informed you might be looking for a job. When Chelsea got home, I was waiting on the couch. She came up behind me, cupped my face, kissed my head. Hey, babe. How was work? Exhausting. She slumped over the back of the couch. But I got this crazy voicemail. The facility looked like a dilapidated warehouse from the outside. A man in a black car picked us up. He answered our questions in single words, kept his eyes on the road. Chelsea and I kept squeezing each other's hands the whole way. A man greeted us at the car door. Tall, thin, crisp suit, hair slicked back like he'd been vacuum sealed. Mr. and Mrs. Rains, I presume? Chelsea ducked her head. Shy. I was surprised. She was never shy. We aren't married. Oh, my apologies. He tapped his forehead with his palm. Miss Sutherland. Miss Sutherland, of course. He shook both our hands. My name is Malcolm Kessler. Call me Kessler. Shall we? Inside, the building was nothing like the outside. Long white hallways, bustling professionals in lab coats, clipboards, coffee. Everything sterile and humming. Is this a hospital? Chelsea asked. No, not a hospital. Kessler smiled. Although we do have medical professionals here, and access to those kinds of tools. He led us into a room with a metal table, 4 chairs, nothing else. A woman with a tight bun placed a stack of papers on the table and left. Kessler gestured for us to sit. This is OEM Office of Enhanced Methods. I blinked. What does that mean? He leaned back, folded his hands. Essentially, we test torture methods, see what works, what doesn't, what needs to be scaled back. I could feel Chelsea looking at me. I looked back, couldn't read her expression, but somehow I knew what she was thinking. Is this government? She asked. You could say that. Why do you need us? Kessler leaned forward. His sharp face somehow managed to look warm, practiced. Volunteers are hard to find. So now we look for people like you. People who do odd jobs. People who want large compensation. He let that hang in the air. How much compensation? I asked. He didn't laugh. Are you two looking to get married? The room got hot. I'd bought the ring a month ago. Was just waiting for the right time. You see the cost of venues these days? Kessler said. Honeymoons, kids, college, retirement. He reached out, took my hand in one of his, Chelsea's in the other. I'll be honest with you, it's tough out there. I could make it so you never worry about money again. He left us alone. I heard the lock click. Or maybe I imagined it. We sat in silence for a minute. This place is insane, Chelsea muttered. I flipped through the paperwork. Non-disclosure, liability, medical care. I put it back down. It's a lot of money. He seemed serious. She laughed, anxious. Would we be war criminals? I shrugged. She rubbed her face, a nervous habit. I tucked her hair behind her ear. Neither of us said what we were thinking. How bad did a job have to be to pay that much? But there was a buzz between us. This was what we did. We signed up for strange things. Chelsea lived for this. I think I knew the second we got there she'd want to do it. When Kessler came back, I stood up, wiped my hands on my jeans. What kind of torture are we talking about? His smile was wide. I can show you. He led us to another room. Same sterile walls. More cameras. Different chairs. Wrist and ankle restraints. I winced. Everything stays within these walls, Kessler said. Nothing permanent. Medical staff on site. Everything is voluntary. You can leave any time. A man in a lab coat came in pushing a cart, started strapping down our wrists. Kessler nodded at him. The man picked up a syringe. This is a sample, something we've been working on. High success rate. I wondered what high success rate meant in this context. The right amount of screaming. The doctor approached Chelsea, wiped her arm, found a vein. This is a kind of liquid electrocution, per se. Before I could process that, the needle was in her arm. I watched her seize. Eyes went wide, glassy, mouth fell open. Then she started twitching, jerking. Then she screamed, guttural, horrifying. I was so distracted I barely felt the needle in my own arm. Then it felt like I was on fire. We didn't go back for 2 months. Kessler said to take our time, handed us a stack of bills that bulged in my pocket. He was right. The pain didn't last. An hour, it felt like. They said it was only a few minutes. I expected to be weak. Instead, I felt more alive. We were interviewed, scribbled notes, then let go. The first thing Chelsea said, "What a rush." We waited. It felt like a step too far. Dystopian. Strange. But I could still remember the way that injection tore through my veins. How I wondered if I was dying. But the money was beyond good. At first, we kept it secret from each other. Like we were doing something wrong. She'd head to work. I'd drive to the warehouse. They'd inject me. Feed me things that made me sick. Beat me. I'd drive home sore. Chelsea started staying up after I went to bed. I couldn't call her out. I was acting strange, too. Neither of us wanted to pressure the other. Neither of us liked the idea of the other getting tortured. I caught her coming through the door at 3 a.m. one night, rubbing her temple. I was on the couch reading. "Cheating on me?" I asked. She laughed. "Not exactly." I pulled her to me. She rested her head on my shoulder. "Let's just do it together. From now on, let's go together." She was snoring before I got an answer. We went together the next weekend. Kessler greeted us, cheerful. "I have something different for you today, if you're up for it." My smile faded. "Different how?" He led us to a room. Same chairs. A doctor was already there, holding something that looked like a headband. "Psychological. More than you're used to." I stopped. Chelsea and Kessler turned. Psychological torture? Images of every horror movie I'd ever seen rushed back. Physical pain was one thing. Sanity was something else. Kessler put his hands on my shoulders. Kind. Rehearsed. 30 seconds. That's all. Enough money to buy a used car. Chelsea smiled at me from behind him. She wasn't afraid. That soothed me a little. "We'll do it together." I nodded. The doctor slipped the headband on. Metal plates pressed into my forehead. We sat. Chelsea grabbed my hand. They didn't strap us down. Kessler nodded at the doctor. The doctor pressed something. Chelsea started to scream. It wasn't like anything I'd ever heard. Not from the first time. Not from any movie. It was desperate, beyond pain, beyond torture. I imagined hell might sound like that. She squeezed my hand. I felt my bones cracking. "Chelsea! Chelsea!" I tried to shake her. She wouldn't let go. Her eyes were wide open, dead, looking at me but not seeing. Tears streamed down her face. I whipped around. The doctor was typing. Kessler was staring, hands out, eyes darting. "Do something! Fucking do something!" She was gasping now, ragged, drool seeping from her mouth. I ripped the headband off. She went slack, let go of my hand. The room was silent. Kessler muttered something. The doctor rushed out. I kneeled in front of her, rubbed her knee. "Chelsea, are you okay? Please answer me." Her head turned. Eyes met mine. Still dead. Not her eyes. She opened her mouth. A whisper came out, like she'd forgotten how to use her tongue. "What is it, honey?" "Please," she gasped. "No more." I touched her wet face. "It's over. No more." She stared at me, twitched. "Just kill me." They took her away. I sat alone in that room for hours, her scream echoing in my head. I cried, begged the cameras, banged my head on the table. Someone came in and bandaged my broken hand. No one would tell me anything. When Kessler finally came back, I was hollow. "Where is she? Is she okay?" He sat down, placed an envelope on the table. "Miss Sutherland is outside, unharmed." I sobbed into my hands. He cleared his throat. "Inside is a check for $700,000. A driver will take you to the hospital. Your hand will be treated. Any further medical bills covered. You will then go home and never return here. Do you understand?" I nodded. I wanted to yell, demand answers, threaten to sue, but I was too tired. I just wanted to see Chelsea. Kessler's mouth pressed into a thin line. "We are terribly ashamed of what happened today. Please accept our deepest condolences." Something about that rubbed me wrong, but I just took the envelope. Chelsea was outside, smiling. I gathered her in my arms, kissed her neck. "Thank God you're okay." "Hey, don't cry." She kissed my cheek. What a rush. I couldn't sleep that night. Stared at the ceiling. My hand throbbed. Chelsea's back pressed against my arm was the only thing that calmed me. "Chelsea, are you awake?" She didn't answer, but I could hear her heart. Ka-thunk. Ka-thunk. I sighed. "What did you feel when it was happening?" Ka-thunk. Her heartbeat sped up. Then I realized why I could hear it at all. So loud. Too loud. I sat up, stroked her hair. "Hey, are you okay?" No answer. Ka-thunk, ka-thunk, ka-thunk. I had to see her face. I reached over and rolled her toward me. Her eyes were wide open, bloodshot. And it wasn't her heartbeat I'd been hearing. It was her gasping for air, her throat opening and closing rapidly, swallowing, heaving dryly. I shook her awake. She blinked, rubbed her eyes. "Julian. Babe, what's wrong?" "You were..." "Shh, just a bad dream." But it wasn't a dream. I knew it wasn't. After that, she was different. She went to work, saw her friends, watched TV with me. But she wasn't really there. She didn't sleep. When she did, her eyes stayed open. I asked her about her dreams once. You know how when meat is fresh, the muscles are still alive? They move and squirm even though the animal is dead? She smiled. That's what the backs of my eyelids look like. A month later, I came home after drinks with friends. The house was dark, silent. The second I opened the door, I felt it. Terror. Like there was a man in the closet. Chelsea? No answer. I went upstairs. She was down the hallway, her head half poked around the corner, only her eyes showing in the darkness, wide open, staring at me, not seeing. She started to scream, short bursts, like a panting dog. I turned around, walked out, closed the door behind me. When I looked back, she was in our bedroom window, lights on, silhouette clear. She reared back and slammed her head into the glass. Once, twice, 3 times. Dark liquid trickled down the frame. The paramedics tied her down. I watched them take her away. She was begging them to kill her. I tried to call OEM disconnected. I drove to the warehouse. Empty. When I picked Chelsea up from the hospital, she was normal, smiling. The only proof was the stitches on her forehead. I was driving when I heard it. Honey? I looked at her. She was staring out the window. What was that? She glanced at me. Nothing. I didn't say anything. I turned back to the road. I was losing my mind. That was it. Then I heard it again. Julian, open your eyes, honey. It's okay. Jesus Christ, Kessler. Would you take that thing off him? I think he's had enough. It's been weeks. We're home. Safe. That's what Chelsea says. I'm trying to believe her. I know it was in my head. I know it was whatever that device did to me. But it felt so real when it was happening. Sometimes I wake up and I don't know if I'm really awake. If the ceiling above me is really there. If Chelsea beside me is really her. Sometimes I hear her voice when she's not talking. Sometimes I feel the headband still pressed against my forehead. And sometimes I wonder if I ever left that room at all. Maybe I'm still there. Maybe this is all just another test. Maybe they're watching right now, taking notes, waiting to see how long it takes me to break. I don't know what's real anymore. All I know is that when I close my eyes, I see meat. Fresh. Still moving. Even though the animal is dead. And I think that's what's inside me now.
So that's it. 5 stories, 5 people, 5 moments when something found them. Which one got to you the most? Drop the number in the comments. And if you have your own story, the one you don't tell at parties, drop it below. Maybe it'll be in the next video. Subscribe if you want more. We post every week. That's it for tonight. Turn off the lights if you dare. See you in the next one.